I am Jen Hawkins.
And I am Andy Fenn.
And this is
the Jen and Fenn podcast. Back again.
Back again indeed. And in a timely return
very,
as well.
Very timely return. It's the Platinum Jubilee weekend.
There's a lot going on this weekend.
Platty Jubes.
Indeed. For the big lady of the UK.
Yes. And that means we've also just had the Sony State of Play event. So we've been fed very nicely just in time for our next episode.
Thursday night, got home quite not in a bad way, but not in the best. Sat down with a bit, cup of tea, and then I was like, oh, this has been on. So I put it on. I was sat there like, grand. Lovely. Seminal.
Bravo.
2 o'clock in the morning, plastered, just watching State of Play. Yeah, it was a good way to come home. And yeah, there was actually it's a lot better than I expected it to be.
Yes, still no Bloodborne.
No, but
still no Bloodborne.
I think everything on that, with the exception of maybe one or two things, I think everything on that lineup was solid.
It was a solid lineup. Yeah,
there was something for everybody on there.
So we're going to discuss our highlights from State of Play, but to start with, I think we need to get the awkward part out of the way. Because not only have we had Sony's State of Play, we've also had the launch of the new PlayStation Plus in Asia and then since the full-on Japanese release as well. And to say it's not going well would be the understatement of the century.
And to say it was conspicuous in its absence in State of Play 2 to 3 weeks before launch was also a big thing I noticed personally.
Yes, so we're getting it in the US and the UK sometime over the next few weeks. It's different dates for each region, but I think we're getting it on the 21st or the 24th.
Ours is the latter half, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're the last to get it.
Probably.
But yeah, it's all been a bit of a rigmarole, hasn't it?
It's everything I think we were afraid it was going to be, which was just a quite half-assed.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed it a few episodes ago, didn't we? Like kind of what we wanted it to be. And on paper, it's not really shaping up to be that at all, unfortunately.
Certainly not at the moment anyway. I mean, I'd like to think maybe it will get better, but equally you've had so much time to work on this. Why didn't you just launch it in a good way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we're kind of one of the last regions to get it, but on the same token, I think we're praying for a miracle if we think it's going to be significantly better for us than it's been for everyone else.
I don't think it will be at all, to be honest. I'm not at this point, but it's just the fact that they've launched it so poorly seemingly on home soil is a real teller to me. I'm like, that's the market that you're always the most concerned about reaching and making sure you do things right. And it's just sort of there you go.
It's just all very half-assed. It's like the PS2 range of games is these PS2 classics that have been knocking around on PS4 for
a very long
years and have never been particularly good.
No.
Very, very bare bones, barely up-resed, never mind anything else.
They're the most basic of basic ports, aren't they?
As basic as you can get, to be quite honest. And the PS1 range is abysmal. There's a couple of bangers on there, but it's a dozen games, if that?
It's appalling, really, because considering the wealth of games that is across all of the international PlayStation stores, to be fair, I think in terms of PlayStation 1 classics, the American store, am I right in thinking, have always had the better selection?
Yeah, the American and the Asian regions have always had the better selection, and they've also always had, which we'll get onto in a minute, they've also had the 60 hertz versions, which are very much superior. Yeah, as you say, the selection has always been better.
I mean, I get that it's a local licensing issue and there's all these things going on, but equally, everything in theory is there if you were prepared to put in the other work to get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All you really were having to do was to find a way to uniform this entire thing and make it available internationally. Like, you're not going to be able to get everything in every country. Like I said, I know licensing laws and whatever are an issue. Localization is an issue. But if you're going to do this, do it properly.
Yeah.
And it's risking already, to me, turning into what PlayStation Now was, which was, hey, look, this is amazing. And everyone thought it was rubbish, and then it just disappeared.
And then it just flopped, yeah.
Yeah. So they just quietly ignored it and let it tick on in the background, which is a shame, I think. But
what did they say, 700 plus games?
I think it was something like that.
And it's severely short. So, I mean, did they mean it will be 700 plus eventually when we get around to it?
Why didn't they just delay it?
I didn't read it like that. I think me and most other people read it as this is what it's going to have at launch.
Well, I don't think that's an unreasonable thing.
No.
If you're launching a brand new subscription model and you want people to get on board, you have to have the games there for people to want to pay this, because it's a premium price. It's not cheap.
And that's the weird thing. They've got this tiered system where you've got the essential tier, which is basically what Plus is now, where you get the online play, you get a few free games every month.
Yeah.
Then you've got the extra tier, and I'm not actually 100% sure what that is.
I did read about it the other day, and I was like, this seems like to me, it's kind of like that annoying thing. Like, it's a terrible way to describe it. But you know, when you go and you buy, like, you go to McDonald's and you get a large or a medium Coke.
Yeah.
And it's the difference of 20 pence, so that you kind of just go, oh, fuck it, I'll get the large one.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like, because there's nothing there.
I presume it's just an additional selection of games. You don't get quite as much as the premium ones, but there's some that are classed
But for the fraction of difference in what seems to be the prices,
yeah,
it seems a bit kind of so you'll just go, oh, bollocks, I'll just do that one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a upsell.
It feels like a marketing ploy, yeah, which, you know, it's fair.
But then you've got this premium tier, which is where the kind of the classics come into the equation. But it's bizarre to me that the higher you go in the price, the offering seems to become less and less.
Well, I mean...
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%. And I think the radio silence on it is quite telling, I think. And that's what was... I thought, if there's not going to be anything on this... Because I thought that really State of Play was going to be about PlayStation Plus.
You would think.
That's what we were expecting was going to be the case.
Or there would have been a separate event specifically for that.
But it's just been completely not a non-issue.
It's very swept under the rug, isn't it?
Very swept under the rug. Like, this is it. It didn't feature once in State of Play.
No.
There's no mention of it whatsoever. It was basically the games lineup and PlayStation VR 2.
Yeah.
Not a peep about PlayStation Plus.
It's very weird. I mean,
it's almost like I think they know they've fucked it up.
Yeah, and they're just trying to bury their heads in the sand until it's in a workable state.
Yeah, and then we'll start shouting about it. But yeah, by the sounds of it, they should have just delayed it. It doesn't sound like it's particularly... There was no rush to get it out. It could have been something they could have launched towards the end of the year, towards Christmas, when there's more availability for consoles, for one thing, more games coming out as well.
Yeah.
It was just,
So the unforgivable part for me is the frame rate. In English-speaking locations, there is no excuse to be releasing 50 hertz games. I get it where you need foreign language translations and whatnot, because in a lot of cases, it's only 50 hertz versions that exist with those additional language options. But it's the same mistake that Sony made with the PlayStation Mini. Again, had a lot of, I think it might have been all 50 hertz, or certainly a large proportion of them. And they just don't play nice with modern displays.
No, they don't. And terrible. The thing is, there's no need for it anymore, because it's like the difference between PAL and NTSC is practically non-existent with the advent of like the fancy televisions and stuff you can get hold of now. It shouldn't really even be a thing anymore. To me, it just kind of smacks of we can't actually really be bothered to do a lot with these old games.
Yeah.
It's just...
I mean, towards the end of the PS3 store, when we were kind of getting our last couple of runs of PlayStation Classics, we did start getting NTSC versions on our store. So I am kind of holding out the tiniest shred of hope that the UK and the European offerings will be separate and we might actually get the 60 hertz versions.
I mean, I think the thing is with people is I would say vote with your wallets and don't pay for anything until it's completely clear what is available, because they're being very, very cloak and dagger about it, and which suggests to me that there's probably something they don't really want people to make a big deal out of.
We saw a leaked list, didn't we, a few weeks before the Asian launch, and we thought, it's not a lot.
No, it wasn't. And it was, a lot of it was, I don't want to say it's crap, but you were just like,
this
wasn't what I'd be running to play if this was opening up. Do you know what I mean? It's not like going, price, we can go and play, I don't know, Code Veronica, or we can go play the old.
I mean, Code Veronica is on there.
Well, you know what I mean? It's not something I'd be like, I'm dying to see them play that again, you know? It was just, it was kind of like, all right, okay.
Yeah, it was very that. And it was such a short list as well. And I was like, okay, so is this just what's leaked and there's more? I was really holding out hope that there would be...
This is the arse of the bucket. Like the rest of it is in there, and you just, It's a very strange and at the moment very disappointing situation.
I feel like the licensing of the games has held it up and they didn't want to delay the launch, and they just kind of have got nothing to kick it off with.
I just feel like they're on systems like this are already on thin ice. I think if you launch it in shit shape, it's very difficult to get people back again. Yeah, and you're not going to get people back, quote unquote, in the same numbers you would have done if you'd have just launched it correctly. It just feels like a sensational own goal for them. It's just a real disappointment. This should have been their contender with Game Pass.
Exactly,
it's not shaping up to be that at all.
I mean, the thing is, I am a tri-console gamer. Okay, I've got the PS5, I've got the Xbox Series X, and I've got the Switch, and I love them all. Yeah. If you held a gun to my head, I would pick Sony. However, Game Pass shits on anything Sony's ever done from a great height. I agree 100%. Like you say, I'm ride or die with Sony, really, but because that's just what I've had my whole life. And my favourite franchises are Sony flagship franchises. That was a very difficult word for me to say. And that's just been... there's a lot of nostalgia in there as well. But equally, like I said, when I jumped on with the Xbox in the 360 era, Xbox One, nah.
But I am kind of getting to the point where I would consider getting a Series X at some point, if nothing else for Game Pass.
Yeah.
I don't know what else is coming out on the Series X at the moment, but it's something I'm giving thought to in the future. There's plenty of stuff.
I mean, technically, it's the better machine as well.
Or I'll just get a PC, which is what I've been wanting to do for ages, and just get that Microsoft thing on there.
The Xbox is technically the better machine. I do also actually, in a lot of ways, prefer the user experience. It's only because there are certain games that are exclusive to the PS5 that make it an essential purchase.
Well, for me, I think it's sort of things as well. Like, I really, really do love that DualSense controller.
It's great. It is great.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's a real, I don't want to say it's a game changer, but I love using that controller. I think the function, it just feels good. Because I've been playing Deathloop this week, and that makes full use of this.
Yeah.
It just feels good when you're playing it. And I think that controller is a boon.
They both have their pluses and their minuses. From a straight up playing a game, if you want to play a game in the best possible way, which what I'm like, I'm very keen on having the best possible experience in terms of image quality, frame rate, and whatnot. Xbox is the way to go. And the other thing as well is that I'm a big retro nut, and in terms of what they've done with the backwards compatibility, they've nailed it. Whereas Sony just seems to drop the ball on that every single time they try and bring back a bit of zhuzh to their back catalogue.
Yeah.
They just fuck it every time. And meanwhile, Microsoft is nailing it.
To me, I wonder whether this is it's symptomatic perhaps of, changing staff at Sony at the top level. Is there anybody at Sony now that was there
in that golden age that really cares anymore?
Because that's what I mean. It would speak to me as somebody that just doesn't really have an appreciation for that era.
Yeah,
anybody who was there on the ground at the time will know what a brilliant time the PlayStation 2 was. Like, the 360 was very similar in terms of just having this vast catalogue of games. Not everything was AAA. You've got these small releases throughout the year, then you've got your big ones. There was such a vast catalogue of games available, and the PlayStation 1 was the same.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's almost like we've used the comparison before with cinema. Just these small, steady streams of, perfectly fine mid-tier films that everyone can enjoy, and then you get your blockbusters every year.
Yeah.
Everything now has to be a blockbuster.
Yeah.
And I think that's a shame. So to me, it's just kind of, I don't know, I just can't imagine there's anyone that were there when these consoles were big, because I can't imagine why you would just look at it and go,
Yeah,
because it was your golden age.
What they need is someone, and to be fair, we've heard recently that Sony have kind of devised this game preservation department or something.
Yeah.
So I like to think that Sony have put people in those roles that completely get and appreciate what was so good about those old games and how much people love them, and the kind of the form people want that to take in 2022.
I want like the British Museum's level of care and attention to the catalogue. Do you know what I mean? You want your curator of old games.
These are the Mona Lisa of games.
You go to these people and they will go through a library for you. And that's what you want, somebody who has that kind of passion on team, and you want them to be dealing with that project. And I hope it comes along, but at the moment, I wish I could say that I didn't see this coming.
I know.
I think
we even said it. We said it on the show.
We wanted to believe so much that it was going to be a real game changer, and at the moment it's just not that.
And the other thing as well is, and we were talking about this the other day, is the fact that in a uncharacteristically generous move, if you owned any of these games before, back in the day on PS3, you'll be able to play them without signing up for the Plus subscription.
Which kind of, to me, especially in your case, and to a lesser extent, begs the question why you would ever sign up.
Exactly. I can't imagine a game that I would want to play now that I didn't own back then.
No, I owned a lot of digital, because when the PlayStation 3 store opened up with all those digital copies of old games, I downloaded a fuck ton of them because I had them on the Vita.
Yeah. All of them.
I had loads of PlayStation 1 games for the Vita, and I downloaded a load of PS2 classics. There's loads in there. If I go back through my library, PS1 games I think will outweigh any others. But yeah, I've got a lot of these old digital games that I had for PS3 that I could just snap up.
That's
At the moment, there's no reason for me to use this model.
It's becoming less and less of a value proposition for me in kind of good and bad ways. It's like I love the fact that I could download and play those games without having to sign up.
Yeah.
Obviously, no word of when they would actually be available for me to do that. But
no, it is. It's an odd one, and it's predictably disappointing. That's the worst thing. And that's almost the worst thing about it, is that it just feels like they've
it just feels very short-sighted. It's bizarre to me in the sense that Microsoft is doing what it's doing so well.
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily have access to that same kind of quality of catalogue.
I think Microsoft has less of a pool to draw from. So in terms, you've got that wealth of resources to draw from.
That's it.
I get that the materials are maybe older, but that presents its own challenges. But if you're going to take something like this on, do it properly.
Yeah.
Just don't, you know what I mean? That's the thing. You flouted this as kind of this is what we can do. These are all these games for you to play. You have to put some effort into that. It's like you say, if nothing else, television displays like the one that you and I have got now they don't know what the fuck to do with it. If you put a PlayStation 1 game on there in untouched state, can you imagine?
Horrendous.
It would just tear the screen to pieces.
I had the best of intentions to do a run of the first 5 Tomb Raider games, or maybe the first 4. And I could barely get halfway through the first one on this TV because it was it's a literal eyesore.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a splitting headache. It just looked so ugly. Yeah. And these are games that I love, and I could not bear to play it.
Yeah, that is a real shame. But yeah, so I suppose for that, then it's stay tuned to see if it does improve, but
we shall see.
Out of the gate, it's not doing so good.
We need to bear in mind that I don't think any of these services of this kind of nature have launched in great shape.
No, that's true.
The original PlayStation Plus was pretty shit when it first launched.
Yeah, it was.
Game Pass wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm thinking,
but I just think just stop rushing, because you're rushing out with nothing. Just, take your time and just casually walk on stage with everything you have to offer.
That's it. They could have really nailed it and just come straight out of the chute with loads of quality content, but instead they've kind of gone with like a bare bones offering.
Yeah,
because so much of it has been knocking around for ages. The PS3 range, I think, is entirely what was already on PlayStation Now.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 2 range, there's nothing new there.
No.
Because all of those ports have been on PS4 for a long time.
And this just seems to be the PS1 variety range that was available on PlayStation 3.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
No.
Okay.
That's the joke. I don't
So
think,
it's not even that. Okay.
I think very few of those games were actually available, with the exception of Abe's Odyssey.
Because PS4 didn't support PlayStation 1 games, did it? No, that was the thing. I remember. No. So that was a non-entity.
Exactly. Yeah. Certainly in terms of what we had in Europe, we had Abe's Odyssey. We might have had Ape Escape.
Maybe.
I'm not sure. The US store had a couple of additional ones. I think the US store had Tekken 2. I can't really remember. But it's generally a new range, because to be fair, they are new native versions.
So it's even more unforgivable then, because the catalogue that already existed isn't
you had it.
It's very
it was there.
Literally there. Like, if you just forgotten it was behind the door, like, oh, right, we
just lost it on the back of the couch.
Yeah, literally. You're just like, oh, bollocks. Okay. But yeah, no, it's a predictable disappointment at the moment, and we hope it improves.
Yes, we will keep our fingers crossed. At the moment, I don't think anyone is going to be recommending it.
No, as I say, I think it's what I'm going to be avoiding for a while, because I just don't see any need for it right now.
No, I just hope it doesn't quite. I don't think they can kind of roll it back now, can they? They can't just let it die.
No, I mean, publications are going to cover it when it launches 100%, and if it's not good, they're going to get their asses dragged through the press.
Just, I think I would recommend everyone do a little bit of research before signing up. And
vote with your wallets, people. The way I look at it is, we don't need it right now.
Yeah, if it doesn't look good on paper, then just don't bother with it. If they're not overwhelmed with signups for the premium tier, they'll look at it and go, oh, maybe the lineup isn't encouraging people to sign up, and they will then hopefully put a bit more into it.
Oh, and there's another just kind of nail in the coffin on the end of that. Am I right in thinking there's a bit of a brouhaha over the subscription payments themselves?
Yeah.
People who've bought PlayStation top-up vouchers for...
Well, it all went a bit strange, didn't it? Because originally they said, if you've got both Plus and Now, then you will get a premium upgrade for the length of the longest subscription that you had. So say you had 3 months of Plus and 2 years of Now, you would get a 2-year upgrade to the premium thing, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And then people sort of read that and they were like, oh, okay, I see how I can get a nice deal here.
Yeah.
So people started buying up vouchers and kind of stacking the subscriptions and getting years and years of subscriptions in advance. And then Sony kind of quietly rolled it back. First of all, they blocked people from using the vouchers. So people were literally buying these vouchers
that were unusable.
It's like Sony came out and said, oh, we're switching off the functionality to redeem a voucher until after the Plus premium is launched. It's like, oh, yeah, well, I know why you're doing that. And now people in Asia have found that, say they had 12 months of Plus and they want to upgrade to the premium, they're having to pay the upgrade fee for the entire 12 months. You can't just, do you know what I mean? If you just wanted to try the premium for a month, you can't do that. You have to purchase it for the length of the subscription you have left.
Yeah.
It just seems very amateurish to me.
I mean, I can kind of understand them wanting to put a pin in how many times you could take advantage of those vouchers. Don't get me wrong, because some people did seem to be taking the piss.
People were taking the piss, yeah.
But equally, it was just at the same... Nobody seemed to have a concrete understanding of how this was going to work. It was just... There was no explanation as to why these things did. It just seemed like a huge mess. Like, people were paying a lot of money suddenly and then there was nothing there.
And the thing is, as well,
Very
you also have the super fans who would have stacked their memberships in good faith before all this bullshit.
Yes,
before this premium was even a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're now kind of stuck with, do I pay an extortionate? There were people in Asia being charged, hundreds of dollars to upgrade the membership, and it's like, so I have two options: I either pay this, or I don't get this membership, and I just wait 5 years for mine to lapse before I sign. Like, what do you actually want from me? Do you want me to sign up for it or not?
This is the thing that it just sounds incredibly unuser friendly and unconsumer friendly.
I think it's a very weird choice to me to be so anti-consumer at this point in a launch,
especially when you seem to be offering next to fuck all to make it worth it in the first place.
And that's the thing. And it's like, yeah, okay, some people will game the system and some people 100%. Will try and get one over.
But how many people
just
are actually
fucking
doing
let them?
Yeah, for the amount of people that can be asked to go to those lengths, just let them get on with it.
Just let them do it. Do you want people to sign up for this or not? And that's the question.
At the moment, it just sounds a very messy.
It's a
overly complicated
embarrassment, to be quite honest.
Yeah, like you said, it's amateur hour. Somebody there was just
mismanaging.
This feels like they should have had something very dedicated in terms of a team that was,
knew what they were doing.
And there was it just feels like something that they've kind of maybe decided to do of a Friday afternoon and then come back off the Christmas break and then
all got a bit carried away and they realised it's a bit of an insurmountable task in the time they had left.
Maybe 3 months wasn't enough time to, put it all together. But I mean, moving on to better news.
Yes.
Let's move on to the positive.
Let's get rid of the negativity and we'll go on to the meat and potatoes of the episode, which is
Sony's State of Play.
Exactly that. And our highlights from what we saw there.
There was no PS Plus, which was an eye-opener. I thought it was very conspicuous in its absence. But what was there, I thought was actually brilliant. I think it's the best State of Play they've had in a very long time.
The best one in a while, yeah, for sure.
Some of them have been very... I mean, I don't want to say they're bad, but they appealed to a very specific type of... And there was nothing in there I was interested in hasn't been for a very long time. But this one, I can comfortably say, out of how many games was there? 7?
It was a good selection, yeah.
Over half of them piqued my interest.
Very interesting.
So I was like, actually, this is brilliant. So, I mean, I don't know, should we just jump in with go in chronological order as the show? Or do we want to start?
I don't even know what the chronological order was.
Well, it started with Resident Evil 4.
Well, let's start with Resident Evil 4 then.
Which...
we all knew, it was like the worst kept secret ever. We all knew it was coming.
Which, for me, saying this, I can't wait for it.
I know.
It's brilliant.
I know. It's exactly what we were saying on, I think it was the second part of our Resident Evil episode. I think it was
taking it back to a horror, by the way.
Yeah. It was when we were discussing the original remake.
Yes.
The difference between the OG version of Resident Evil on the PS1 versus the remake, where they just took the lighting down completely, turned it into a proper horror, proper spooky, low light, atmospheric. This is exactly what they seem to be doing in Resident Evil 4, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Agreed.
Because 100%. Resident Evil 4 is bizarrely well lit.
It is, and I think that's one of the things aesthetically that always turned me off about it. It's too bright, and I mean, it's an action-adventure game for all intents and purposes, and I've got no problem with daylight horror. It can be done. Village has shown that it can be done. There are other games as well I can think of as an example.
I mean, Resident Evil 5 was pretty much daylight from beginning to end.
Siren has daylight moments in it, does it not? Am I right?
Moments, yeah.
Moments. But I mean, it can be done. To me, it's just, I was looking at it and I was like, this is everything that I think if this game had launched like this back in the day, if they'd have still kept, they wanted to go the action survival, that's fine. But if they'd have kept that horror aesthetic to it, I would have been a lot more receptive to it at the time, I think. Because they've used the character model of Leon from the RE2 remake.
Yes.
So to me, this is definitely a spiritual continuation of what they've done with remakes to date.
Yes.
Which is to take them. I mean, RE2's remake is pretty faithful. That's a horror game, always has been a horror game.
They have been quite specific that this is going to be quite a bit of a more significant reimagining.
I think what they're doing, if I'm being honest, is they seem to be trying to build a bit of a canon of remakes, and they're keeping them very aesthetically and thematically similar.
I feel like they're having to kind of tweak 4 to be more in line with the remakes of 2 and 3 as opposed to the original 4.
And also sort of to kind of help everything fit into the same chronology a bit better. Because it is a wild change of pace, really, when you look at how RE starts and then it goes to RE4 and then it goes back to things like RE7 and Village.
Yeah.
I can see they're all kind of just trying to put, even if it's only there's some kind of a thematic thread going through all these remakes where you kind of just think, right, so this is almost like we've got to the end of this now and now we're going back to sort of make everything completely fit in with the vision we had for the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at that trailer, and if the other thing as well, they've made Ashley significantly less irritating straight away, which is always
that seems
a winner.
to be another key component of these remakes is taking really, really shit, irritating characters and making them somewhat tolerable.
Well, it's kind of what a remake is supposed to do, isn't it? It's supposed to fix the things that didn't work well the last time, while also improving and adding to everything that did work. And I think they did it to more or less perfection with RE2.
Yes.
They did it to perfection with RE1 remake.
Yeah.
3, not so much, but 4, I think, to be honest, I don't think they will fuck 4 up because I think they know how...
4 is too important.
4 is too important. Regardless of how you feel about it, it's a huge moment in the series. It's where a lot of
masterpiece.
It's where a lot of people joined on. People who are a bit younger than us came to the series with RE4.
Yeah.
So it's a big moment and it can't really afford to balls it up.
No.
But everything so far, even from that initial trailer, I think is really promising.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot. I don't think we've really seen any gameplay to speak of.
We haven't, but I think, to me, I've seen enough to think, actually, I'm really looking forward to this.
I like the vibe.
I like the vibe of it, and actually, I think I'm going to pick this up on launch.
Me too.
Straight away, I've been
Absolutely. I mean, I would have done anyway.
100%, I probably would for our Resident Evil, but I'm looking at it and just thinking, this is the game that's going to change my opinion on Resident Evil 4 as a thing. Maybe not the original, but...
Yeah,
I'd be like, actually, this is a version of RE4 that I can get on board with.
It's a way for you to enjoy that part of the kind of pantheon of Resident Evil.
Like I said, just take it back to a horror, which is what they're doing, as far as I can see. And I think I think of some of those enemies in Resident Evil 4, the original one. If they do this right, I think it could be a really good horror show. Like all the stuff coming out of the bodies.
Yeah,
and,
some of the monster design in 4 is really excellent.
Like proper, it's like The Thing. Have you ever seen the film The Thing? Mm-hmm. The original one? That one with like the aliens, with like the body horror, with the appendages that come out of it's gross and it's horrible. Like RE4 has so much potential in that respect.
There's a particular boss in 4 that always really shit me up. I think it's called It. Which I think is kind of a reference to The Thing. And it's it's all the kind of appendages coming out. It's almost like an insect.
Yes, I think I do know the boss you mean. And there's also some enemies in one area of the game that I remember being particularly nasty. Can you only kill them with fire? Dead creepy. That was one of the creepiest things.
Oh, the regenerators.
Might be the regenerators. That kind of... Yeah, and I think you can only kill them by burning them, or that's the most effective way to kill them.
No. I know what you're thinking of. It's when you use the thermal scope and you have to snipe the
insects you have to go for
them.
Yes, you have to go
parasites.
for... That's exactly what I'm thinking of. Yeah, it's like a laboratory area. Yeah. I remember those enemies being really horrible.
Oh, do you know what? I've mentally blocked those out, and now I'm thinking we're going to have a remake of Resident Evil 4, and it's going to have those in it, and they're going to be really awful.
Yeah, and so, I'm just thinking about executing a perfect shotgun headshot, and all of a sudden the thing comes out of something's head, and if they do this right, I think it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for it.
Do you know what I really want from it though?
What?
This is going to sound so stupid. I really just want some closure. 15 years on, from how Ada Wong survived the outbreak incident.
I think they're going to have to do it because most people, I think RE2 is still very fresh in everybody's mind, aren't they? But I think one thing RE2 does do well, I think isn't in Leon's ending, there is a direct, she appears on the lift, doesn't she? I know she does in the original one as well, but it makes the point very clear that somehow she survived before.
Yeah.
How it's done, I think they will almost as a joke Easter egg have to throw in something about that.
I really want them to, because in the original Resident Evil 4, it's very glossed over because when they meet, he clearly already knows that she survived.
It is a bit of an odd one from what I remember.
He knows that she's alive, and he knows that she's working with Wesker. There's no like, how the hell are you here? You died. There's none of that conversation.
That's the conversation you should be having, because as fans, that's exactly what we were thinking. Like, what are you doing here?
It just all fell down a plot hole at some point between 2 and 4.
But she is in that trailer for a speech.
She is?
Yeah, there's like a snippet of her back, isn't there? You can see her in there, and it's only like a briefest of seconds. But yeah, I think that is something they will address. And I think it'll almost be in a bit of a tongue-in-cheek way, like, wait, hang on, what?
Yeah.
Well, there have to be something, because I think today's audiences are a bit less forgiving of those kinds of contrivances in the plot. But yeah, I'm really, really enthusiastic and really excited about that, which I'm really grateful for, because I feel like as much as we've had some great games lately, I haven't felt like there's anything I've been super excited for quite a long time. And I think this will be the one. Like, we'll get to Christmas this year, and I'll just be like, can we just get to March, please? Yeah. March of 2023. Like when RE2 launched, I was like, Christmas is great and all, but can we just get to the end of January when Resident Evil 2 Remake's going to launch? Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really good. And I'm excited.
Yay!
And that also segues very nicely, unless you have anything else to...
No.
So into The Callisto
The
Protocol.
Callisto Protocol. We're going to have several months of being very well fed
as horror fans. Yeah.
Because we've got the Callisto Protocol in December, I think they said. Then we've got the Dead Space remake in January, and then Resident Evil 4 in March.
Christ almighty.
We're going to be, yeah.
So I'll start putting away some money, I think. That's going to be the thing. Like, everyone, what do you want for Christmas? Well, but yeah, I say that when I thought, when it first came on, I thought it was the Dead Space remake. That was the vibe I was getting from it at the beginning. But it's kind of, as an Alien fan, it's got that
this is what I'm getting from it.
It's lo-fi, sci-fi kind of thing. And
I get a lot of Dead Space. I get Alien Isolation.
Yep.
I get some Resident Evil-ish vibes. It's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of different
science fiction,
really
survival horror.
Yeah.
What a marriage.
Yeah.
It's just what you want.
It does look. I wonder at the wisdom of releasing it so closely to the Dead Space remake, but
it's bold. I'll
take it.
But I mean, this Callisto Protocol's been teased for a little while now, hasn't it? And it went quiet, and now it's come back with that. But I am. This is one I really am looking forward to. This will be definitely, I think, a pickup on launch.
Yeah, I don't know a massive amount about the story. It's basically a prison on a moon?
Yes, it seems. I mean, to be honest with you, the story, as much as I love the story and I want to be invested in the story, for me, I was just sold on that trailer. It is it's some kind of isolated space environment where there's something
horribly
awful going on.
Yeah,
it just seems like a proper survival horror experience again, which I'm totally here for, because I thought it was Dead Space. But they say releasing it within a month of a Dead Space remake is a bold move.
Yes,
because they seem to be very, very similar in terms of what they're.
Well, it's the one of the guys kind of in charge of it is one of the co-creators of Dead Space.
Of course, it is. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, there is that. So yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for this one as well. This is, like I said, as an Alien fan, as a fan of The Thing and all those old science fiction horror films, this looks.
It's a nice little kind of tapestry of all sorts of lovely horror.
And the timing's perfect. The weather's shit. You're not going anywhere. And I want to probably pick it up around the time where the Christmas parties are winding down, and you've got that week between Christmas and New Year where you're doing absolutely nothing. And
Shut yourself in a room, turn the lights off, draw the curtains.
Absolutely that. And don't come back out until New Year. And that's
don't come back out until you're finished.
But yeah, they are that in terms of horror, they are feeding us this coming winter. It looks wonderful.
So we've got the Dead Space remake a month later. That wasn't on the State of Play, but we've seen quite a bit of that already.
Yeah, as I say, there probably will be another big piece on that before it drops. I would think there'll be some kind of a launch trailer and a bit of a
to-do.
Something about it. But yeah, as I say, because they've given a lot away about that quite early, haven't they, considering they're dropping it in January?
I suppose they have and they haven't, but at the end of the day, we kind of know what to expect because it is a remake.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's not a one-to-one remake.
No.
But we know roughly what we're going to get.
Its audience is already primed and ready to go.
Absolutely.
And again, it's going to pick up some new fans. As I say, it's people who didn't get to play it the first time around for whatever reason. It's there is a lot going on. I'm really glad to be excited about stuff again. Like there's stuff that's coming out where I'm like, oh, that looks good, or that looks good. This is stuff like shit. I really want to go and buy this and I need it now.
It's almost like that we're past that lull that we had with COVID kind of delaying everything, and now we're kind of really getting into it, and it's like we can be excited about stuff again.
Because I think that's it. Because there's been plenty of games coming out over the last couple of months to year or so that I've been interested in, but I've not been so interested in that I've bought them at launch. So, like, for example, I've just picked up Deathloop for 20 quid, and I'm having a blast with Deathloop, but equally, I'm glad I only paid 20 quid for it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's good to take a punt on for that price, whereas this is stuff that's coming out now where I'm like,
that's day one.
This is putting stuff money aside to get excited for coming home from work that day, getting straight on it, installing it, and all that kind of jazz. So yeah, there's a lot that was. So Callisto Protocol and RE4.
Yeah. And
then what was the other big ones that were on there?
Final Fantasy 16 was on there, which is looking good. Question mark.
Yeah, did they do an extended thing on that at the end? They did that right at the end, didn't they? Because the developer talked for a little bit and then they went ahead and with the trailer.
I only saw the trailer. I only watched the trailer, which is kind of very much in keeping with what I'd seen already. It looks really good.
But it doesn't look like Final Fantasy, does it?
It's just looking less and less like a Final Fantasy game, if that makes sense. I suppose when I compare it to the combat in the 7 remake, then it kind of, I can see how that's kind of followed on. But yeah, it's I think it's the guy who did the combat for Devil May Cry is in charge of the combat in this.
Oh, well, that's very telling.
So I'm like,
you're a bit like, this could go either way.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to think that Square Enix, it is Square Enix, isn't it? That they are, and I'm certain they are, self-aware enough to know who their diehards are.
Yeah.
You can't change the wheel too much with these games. You can improvise, you can add new things to it. That's great. but you can't change the fundamentals of these games because I think they appeal to such a specific audience.
Yeah.
That to go too far in another direction is to basically kind of go, well, why didn't you just make a new IP?
Yeah. Yeah.
Final Fantasy is what it is, and it has its fans, and those people come, because they have done interesting and new things over the years. Don't get me wrong, but the core of it is always very much remained the same, I think.
I think I feel very much about 16 as I have about most mainline Final Fantasy entries over the past sort of 5 to 10 years. It's just,
interesting.
Not sure how I feel about that. And then I get them and I play them and I enjoy them to a degree.
But you haven't loved any of them.
I haven't loved them. The last one I really, really loved was probably 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's a fan favourite. And I vividly remember when the PlayStation 3 came out, and it was around, I can't remember what it was. Was it Final Fantasy 13?
Mm-hmm.
The one that launched on PS3? And I remember you being very excited to pick this game up.
And then
it was on Xbox 360 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So am I right in thinking it was the first time one of those had been on an Xbox?
Yeah.
And that was a huge deal. I think you've still got the poster up in your office, haven't you, on the next door?
I did have. It's come down now because we're decorating. But that was probably the beginning of the end, really, for me.
That was the first big next-gen one, wasn't it?
It was.
Quote, unquote. And it was all sold on flashy spectacle and everything being very colourful.
It was very, very style over substance.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed 12.
Mm.
I enjoyed 13 for what it was, but I think I probably only played it from beginning to end twice, which is low for me. 14, obviously. I mean, when I said the last one I loved was 10, I wasn't including 14 in that.
14 is its own beast, I think.
14 is its own
totally
thing, its own separate thing, and it is life for me.
Well, it is a life. You can't stop playing the damn thing. Yeah, it's a
15 I thought was shit. There we go.
Which one was 15 again? The boy bandy one.
Yes.
Yeah, my sister got into that one quite a lot and I think it was the strange kind of open worldiness of it that I think entrapped her in that one. To me, it just seemed weird. It was just this what seemed to be a K-pop band driving around in a car.
It's just One Direction.
Then all of a sudden, a mountain just got up on all fours, and they were fighting with that. And I was like, okay, cool.
It had its moments.
Yeah, that was a very divisive one. I think you either really liked that one or it wasn't
a Marmite game.
It very much so. It was. The thing I look at that one and I laugh because I can absolutely see who they were trying to appeal to with that one. The aesthetic of it was just, but yeah. So that's an interesting one.
It looks really good, and it's the people behind the storyline are the people that storylined Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
So I feel like it can't really go wrong.
No.
I'm just not 100% sold on the combat side.
I think with these now, it seems to be, from my impressions of talking to you about it, is that you're kind of hoping for probably you're not going to reach the heights again of the originals. I don't think so. What you're basically hoping for is you're going to see, this is the best one we've seen
for a while.
For a while, this is wow,
if it's better than 15 and it's better than 13, I'll be happy.
I don't think that's going to be difficult to do.
No,
because I think they're coming back into their stride a bit here with the popularity of Final Fantasy 15 and everything.
It's not open world either, is it? Not really.
I'm not sure. I haven't been following it. So.
The impression I get is that it's a bit more focused than 15.
Which I think is a good thing, personally. I think 100%. Those games suit a very tight narrative. Like Final Fantasy 7, which is the favourite, is a very tight narrative.
It is, but it doesn't feel like it.
No, that's the thing. There's this illusion of open worldiness to it, while also there being a very disciplined.
Yeah, and
narrative.
I think that's the weird kind of thing between 13 and 15 is you had 13 that was so linear.
Yeah.
You were literally just running from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was a series of spectacular boss fights, is all I can remember.
It was just one
being
corridor,
in your living room going, I don't know what's going on.
A long corridor leading to the next boss.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Whereas 15 was like the antithesis to that.
15 just didn't seem to really know what it wanted to do with it, though. My sister's a big fan of this franchise as well, and she seems to latch onto the more weird niche ones, like Final Fantasy 12 she got quite into.
That's a good one.
This one, I think it was just, I don't know, I wouldn't even say that I don't think she loved it or particularly, it was just, she just found it quite fun to tinker around on. There was a lot of farting around you could do in this open world, which I think appealed, but this is somebody who's poured in like 100 hours into Skyrim and more than 100 hours in Skyrim and then somehow never finished the campaign. So I
can well believe it.
It's a very strange, it appeals to a very strange impulse in her, I think, just the aimless arsing around in open worlds.
Yeah.
But and then there's the two, I think, kind of the wild card entries, one of which we're both completely in agreement about, that we are for some reason irrationally excited about, which is Stray.
I want it so badly.
I want it so badly. I love the sort of the downtown neon Tokyo setting of it. And the fact that you can just explore this as a cat.
Yes. And like, not even, it's just a cat. It's nothing, there's nothing special about this cat. It's just a ginger cat.
I just kind of like the idea that this cat is basically just what a cat is, which is just a nosy bastard who's just in everybody's business. No boundaries.
It's basically a stealth platformer, isn't it?
Which I love. Like, imagine taking a stealth platformer, which is one of my favourite things in the world.
And putting a cat in it.
And the parkour of it, it's like Assassin's Creed levels of parkour design as this cat jumps up a couple of neon signs and walks across a roof.
Yeah.
There's something about this that I look at it and I just think, I want it.
Really interesting. Kind of weirdly like a chill game, but I can also imagine it being... It looks
like a cozy game to me.
Cozy, but I can imagine it being quite tricky and infuriating at points as well.
Yes, there'll be some really irritating puzzles in it.
But in general, just like cutting around as this cat, I think it's going to be really fun.
I have no doubt in my mind, I mean, it has to be done. It's a game about a cat, that there'll be some sort of like a trophy or whatever, I'm calling it now, where you'll have to nudge something off of a ledge that will hit somebody on the head as they walk underneath.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Calling it now if it's not in the game.
And you'll have to jump off the top of a building and land on all four feet or something like that.
There'll be something like a 9 lives trophy or just basically like, don't touch it. Knocking a vase off a table.
I mean, it looks quite kind of conceptual, doesn't it? Because the cat looks realistic and the environment looks realistic, but everything else in the environment looks really weird.
Yeah.
Like, are they all robots or something?
It's kind of a weird, it basically looks like a cyberpunk game, doesn't it? Except that you're playing as a cat.
Yeah. But everything else, like there's like these flying robots and like these mice that all look robotic, and then there's
a very futuristic Tokyo. I think that's the idea is that you're maybe one of the only organic beings.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's probably what it's going to be. If I had to guess, it's going to be very much a story about being one of the only organic beings left in this world.
So that's why everything's trying to get you.
Yeah, I mean, even if they're not trying to get you, it's just exploring this weird alien universe that you just don't understand. You know, it's just.
I think it looks fab.
I think it looks great. It looks like a proper cozy game to me, as in I can see me just wasting hours playing that game.
It's out soon as well. It's on the July 19th.
Jeez, is it that close? I have totally missed the date, so that's one for me.
I must admit, they did say that it's one of the rare games. It's going to be on the extra and premium plus tiers on day one.
Oh,
and I was like, okay, now you got me interested.
Okay, that's what I mean. I'm like, okay, now you have my attention.
I still don't think it'll be enough for me to sign up. I think I'll just buy Stray outright.
Yeah, I'm not shamed. I'll just buy a Stray. I'm convinced enough by Stray to think I would just pick it up because it looks great. But yeah, it's a strange cyberpunk stealth platformer featuring a cat.
What more could you want?
We don't get enough weird niche little games like this anymore.
And we don't get enough cats in games.
No, we don't. The representation is feline representation in games. That's what we need. And we love to see it. So yeah, that's one definitely on the buy radar for me as well. That looks fun. And a lot of people have been taken in by that. And I remember seeing a discussion in the YouTube comments afterwards. They were like, I have no idea why I'm so interested in this.
I want this so
but
badly.
I really want it. And everybody's like, we don't understand why we want this so much, but we do.
Yes, give it to us.
Yeah, again, I hope it does well, because I think we need more weird little indie experimental games.
Yeah.
We need more of it. We had loads of them on like the PS3 era, and I think that needs to start making a comeback.
Yeah.
And then the other one, was it Roller Drone? Was that what it was called? Which was one we were looking at earlier, and we were like, I can kind of see me getting into that if the price is right.
If the price is right, yeah. There was a couple of things that I mentioned about it that weren't quite... It was basically like a cross between Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Killer 7, isn't it? You're basically on roller skates with guns.
The aesthetic looks like it might give me a bit of a headache eventually.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, because it's very bright.
I wasn't quite sold on the art style. I feel like it's almost a bit too flat looking for me. There's not enough...
pop.
Not enough pop. There's not enough lines. There's not enough differentiation between the different objects.
I agree, and for me, it was color variation as well.
The color palette, to be honest,
it's obviously very specific and designed that way.
Yeah, but it's gross. It just looks like a...
It's very beige, isn't it? Very beige, red,
It looks like
brown.
a plate of spew to me, to be honest. But the game itself looks really cool.
Yeah, it's one of those, I think, if it comes round or if it's not out, I think it's something I could see me picking up between around the £10 to £15 mark. And having a good couple of hours with it, because I can see it being one of these games, a bit like Hotline Miami, where you're building up a best score. Everything's on a multiplier. Everything's really fast paced. If the soundtrack's good in it, while that's all going on, I could see me getting a lot of mileage out of that game. That sounds like a game that I would love on the I would have loved on the Vita.
Yes. Yeah.
I would have burned hours on that on the Vita on a long journey somewhere. But that would look fun. As I said, that one I think is definitely, that's either wait for a sale or see what the price is like at launch.
Yeah.
That looks.
I shouldn't imagine it'd be too expensive, to be quite honest.
I would guess somewhere within the region of about £15 or so, I think would be reasonable. A good solid indie entry at launch, I think, is a good price for it. And what else did we have? Of course, the new hardware was obviously another big...
The VR stuff.
Yeah, the VR2, obviously, which was being showcased by Resident Evil Village.
Yeah, I mean, VR is just something that just does not... It's never appealed to me, and it's never going to appeal to me. I'm very pleased for all the VR fans for their new VR stuff. But
have you ever played any of the more recent VR?
I haven't.
Now, I see. Now, I say this as somebody who I'm probably less enthused by it than you are, because I'm very prone to motion sickness.
That's why I don't like it.
I find them very, very difficult to get on board with. But I have played certain games on the PC's Oculus system, and they are worlds apart from the ones that we used to play
before. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And it's because of the frame rate. The frame rate is impeccably better. Like, you're not looking around at 30 frames per second and giving yourself a migraine. The integration of the hardware with the games and then the frame rate and everything, it's head and shoulders above where it was.
I can imagine
about 10, 15 years ago.
I can imagine.
To the point where I think I would play something on it if I had the opportunity, but I can't. It would be one of those kind of things. If I knew someone who had that system and you were kind of burning an afternoon, I could never see me ever being at home using that
I know.
software. And that's what does it for me.
I've been gaming for such a long time, and gaming to me is sitting on the sofa, controller in hand, with a great telly in front of you. It's never been my thing. It's an
interactive cinema experience. That's the way I look at it. So it's very much you doing you, and it's, multiplayer is a little different. But yeah, I'm very much with you. It's bums in the seat, watching the screen.
Yeah.
It's all about just sitting there and absorbing what's on screen rather than,
being in this kind of immersion aspect of it. I'm immersed enough.
Yes, I agree. I think that's it for me. I think I can see where this is going. This is obviously skidding towards that kind of Ready Player One future, isn't it? And to be honest, I'm here for it. When it lands, I'll definitely give it a go.
Absolutely.
When I am geriatric and unable to move, having a brain in a system doing something would be quite fun.
If I can just have a headset on and just control the game with my mind, that'll probably be. My thumbs are going to be ruined by then. So.
Oh, absolutely. We've asked Rittic, and that'll be me, just kind of sailing on my golden years, 100%. But yeah, I probably would give Village a go on this system though if I had the opportunity.
I'd be tempted to see what it's like.
Yeah, I'd be willing to put in a couple of hours playing it on this system.
If we went to a Eurogamer or something and they were running it, I'd be like,
if there was a showcase or I knew someone who had this equipment that I could play it for a couple of hours, I would definitely give it a go.
I don't think it's ever something that I would buy.
No, I don't think it ever will be anything I buy. I just, like I said, I just can't imagine. And from playing the Oculus as I have done, I found that space is definitely a must for these things. Because Christmas Day, it was like that episode of Absolutely Fabulous, when Eddie's in the stuck in the wardrobe and she's trying to get out. I was sort of, without realizing, walking around this room. And when I took the headset off, it was the weirdest thing because I was not in the place where I started.
No.
I'd kind of gone out the door. I'd got a bit, and they just let me do it, which was quite funny.
Very
I was just like, I was looking under tables, moving around the room, and to anybody like casual, that must have looked absolutely mad. They could see me through the window outside. This was Christmas Day. It's quite a bonkers experience. I would definitely be the sort of person who would fall down the stairs by accident or something. I'd have to be in a very closed, contained space, no sharp edges, like childproof room.
Yes.
With lots of space, and that's the thing. I just don't have that kind of space, which is why I don't see me ever jumping on board with VR. But yeah, it looked pretty cool though. I mean, if they're putting if the integration's done well, it's a novelty thing.
Yeah.
But equally, I think it would be quite fun to have a go on. It's not something I'd buy.
That's the thing. I would happily have a go on it. It's not something that I would ever kind of buy into.
Well, Eurogamer is back on at full force this year, so I'm kind of hoping there might be something because I'm intending to go for at least 2 days this year. So yeah, if there is something there like that, then I think give it a punt.
Yeah.
And report back. Sony's booth is usually quite good for that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Showcasing the hardware. Yeah. I'm just trying to think what else there was in the State of Play now.
Well, there wasn't really anything on the State of Play. We did see that rumour again earlier on that we're heading for a mid-generation refresh of the consoles.
Oh, Christ,
over the next year or two.
Which I think, regardless of whether or not, like, as people who owned PlayStation Pros and things like that, I mean, again, it's speculation, but that was, I think, with a universally audible, Like, we can't even get hold of the base machines at the moment.
Yeah, I know.
Just put a pin in that.
I mean, the thing for me is that I always want, as I said earlier, I always want to have the best version of the experience.
You do, yeah.
I'm such a stickler for image quality and frame rate and all the rest of it. If I can, like people who want the best spec PC.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not a massive PC gamer. I know full well that if I want the absolute best possible experience, that's where I need to go. But what I'm saying is I want the best possible version on a console because I'm a console gamer.
I think it's because you can just get it in the box. That's the appeal of it.
Turn it on and it just...
You're not importing 6 different pieces from 6 different places.
It generally just works. You know, that's what I want. I want the simplicity, but I also want the absolute best possible experience. That's why I've got this TV, this beast of a TV, and I want the technology to make that TV sing.
Agreed.
So
I agree.
A mid-gen upgrade, I have no shame in saying I would buy on day one.
I've joined you on that front because I never used to be like that, but I think that was because always being on a fairly limited budget, I was always very pleased with what I could get.
What you had, yeah.
But the problem with it is now, particularly with this, and I will say it actually is this generation, and it started with the PS4 Pro, when you started to get a little taste of what 60 frames per second looked like consistently.
And you can never go back.
And then when I got a PS5 and then played it on that television, or a very similar television, which is something...
Your life was
I was house sitting
forever.
at the time, and that television, so I hooked up my new PlayStation 5 to it.
Never be the same.
I couldn't. I remember hooking it upstairs and just going, this just won't do. This just will not do. And within a week I had that television.
That TV, yeah.
Awful. I mean, I bought it on, it was very, very sensible. Bought it on a payment plan, which has been paid and at a very good price. But yeah, I've never bought something that extravagant in my life, honestly.
Honestly, you actually blew my mind that day when you bought that TV.
I remember telling you and you were like, what?
I was like, pardon?
Sure. And I was like, yeah, I kind of did that thing. I bought the telly and then I was just sat staring at it for hours once I had it. I think it was just on the title screen. I was like, look at it go.
Yeah.
But yeah,
thing of majesty.
In a couple of years, if there is a genuinely valid reason to upgrade to a new version of the PS5, as in there is a genuinely good reason to do it.
Yeah.
I would consider it at this point.
The thing I will say is that the PS4 Pro was a letdown.
Yes.
However, the Xbox One X was actually really good. Nobody bought it.
Yeah, but I think the Xbox One itself wasn't a
This is the thing. The Xbox One X was necessary because the Xbox One and One S were not up to scratch.
Yeah, so. Agreed. Yeah. I think the PS4, it was a bit of a letdown, but I think it did sort of give you a bit of a taste for what things could do. You know, it was. Yeah. But at the moment, I just think just make sure people can get hold of your baseline system before we start.
Yeah.
Flirting with the idea of upgrading things again because you're like.
I mean, theoretically, that should start to improve, but
I don't get the impression that it's anywhere near as much of a problem now as it was, say, 12 months ago.
No, but I'm also not 100% convinced that it's just a COVID thing.
No, I mean, I think COVID has exacerbated an existing issue. I think that's the problem, and it's going to take a while for things to recover.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think by the end of this year, this is why I was thinking about PlayStation Plus and things like that. I was like, just give it till the end of this year. Launch PS Plus when availability is definitely improved, because availability is going to be ramped up in time for Christmas.
Yeah,
just park it for a bit and just have a good launch at Christmas when your systems are widely available, and put some effort into it. For fuck's sake,
it's just unforgivable.
It's just predictably depressing.
I know.
We wanted it to be so much. Even I don't think we were asking for a lot either.
No,
that's the worst part of it.
Just make it good.
Yeah, just don't be shit. I don't think it's a big ask. It shouldn't be. Not for those prices anyway. Absolutely not for those prices.
But I mean, to be fair, Nintendo did exactly the same thing with the 50Hz games when they did that Switch Online Pro thing. And they did they rolled it back. They had it so that you could download whichever version you wanted. So if you needed the additional language options, you could get the 50Hz version, but the 60Hz version was also available.
So I think the takeaway is, if this is shit, people shout about it.
But I'm glad that the reaction was kind of what it was, because that kind of thing really could have passed everyone by.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing. I think it just needs to be addressed. I would hope that this isn't just going to be dusted under the carpet now.
No,
kind of put away.
It was just very telling that it was pretty much like the first big news story that broke about it after the Asia launch was,
and what a disaster,
it's 50Hz games.
Yeah, the one thing you're like,
the one thing we asked you not to do.
It's not even catastrophic technical issues, is it? It's just
just a niggle.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
but I'd say it's a pretty big one.
It is. Because, I mean,
in modern gaming, there's just no excuse for it.
No,
but who knows? They may surprise us. Just looked at each other
Sorry.
then like...
If we'd been on video for this particular episode, that would have been a moment.
That would have been It might surprise us. We do have to be optimistic, otherwise it would be
We've already been optimistic, and look where that got us.
I know. Cynicism, people, that's what it is. The order of the day. And you can never be disappointed.
Exactly.
So, is there anything else to run through today?
I don't think so. The only other thing that I thought we might talk about, but we might save it for another episode, is The Quarry.
The Quarry?
It's a spiritual successor to Until Dawn.
Oh! Is this the new game they're doing?
Yes.
Yes, I have seen a little bit about this, so I think we need to do a bit more
information. We'll do some research. We'll get back to you on that one.
We'll get back to you on that one.
Because it's out in like 2 weeks.
Oh, for Christ's sake. All right, fair enough. Okay, right. We'll pick this up. We'll put a pin in this.
It looks incredible, but we will. I tell you what, we'll play it first, and we'll do a review.
We'll do a review, because that sounds like just the tonic. For me.
Oh, it looks fabulous. Until Dawn was brilliant.
Until Dawn was brilliant. We had a lot of fun playing that. We did an all-nighter and played that.
We did.
That was a good one, and we came away with a wild selection of choices.
We did.
We had some funny moments.
I can't remember whether that was. I think I played it on my own.
You had played it before. I had never played it before.
And I think by complete accident, I think I got the bullshit Hollywood ending where everyone lived.
Yeah.
And then I think when we played it together, I deliberately tried to kill everyone. That was funny. It
was a joy. The colourful and wonderful and awful ways you can end lives in that game is just a treat. So if The Quarry is anything like that, then I'm sure we'll be in for a bit of a treat. But
watch the space for that.
So we probably will be back then with a review of The Quarry.
Yeah.
There's nothing else between now and then, so that'll be a few weeks' time. But you can find us on all major socials.
Yes.
We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Apple Music.
Google Podcasts.
And other places.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
All of the above. Jen and Fen pod on any of those.
Yes.
And so...
Thank you for listening.
Spread the word, and we'll see you soon.
Next time.
Bye.
Bye.